How you doing? It's Peter Jenkins for the Saltwater Edge, and I'm here again with Captain Ray Jarvis of Salt of the Earth Sportfishing Charters for another Captain's Corner. It's middle of July because you were busy. We've been trying to put this together between the 4th of July and everything else, but you know, I think I like the format we used the last time. You know, you're out there on the water almost every day, sometimes doubles.
Sometimes doubles.
And so what's out there? What do you see now in terms of bait and things like that?
So bait-wise, lots of smaller stuff that maybe spawned in the spring and is starting to flush out.
Yeah.
Not really flush out, but just kind of become more present.
Yeah.
So lots of little juvenile sea herring, like 3 to 4 inches. Some peanut
I think
bunker.
I saw a couple of those.
Yeah, I've been starting to see like little brown clouds of bay anchovies. Obviously, lots of sand eels as well. There's been stripers a little bit more offshore on big schools of sand eels.
Yeah.
Obviously, tuna as well on the sand eels, but and then little silversides, just your classic stuff. Even some peanut bunker here and there.
Yeah, when you see the silversides, at least for me, this is an assumption I'm making. I want to check it on you with more experience.
Yep.
When I see a ball lower in the water column, like in, not 10 feet down, off the bottom, but in the middle there, I generally think that's silversides. Is that a good?
I would bet on that. Yeah.
I see when they're in the shallows, you see them. But when the tide comes, as the tide goes out, they seem to settle more like into the.
Yeah, I'll see them on the sounder, like mid-water column.
Yeah.
Even down towards the bottom sometimes.
Yeah.
Up in the bays, there's a lot of bass that are popping up on the surface here and there.
Yeah.
Narragansett Bay, even still some fish in Mount Hope Bay,
Yeah.
and then Buzzards Bay.
You think of those places getting so warm already, but.
Yeah, but the water really isn't that bad up there yet.
Yeah.
I left Westport this morning and the water was almost 75 in the river.
Yeah.
And I fished out front for a bit and we went up into Narragansett Bay and the water was like 68, 69.
Yeah.
So
on
the incoming tide.
I had good fishing on sand eels and some sea herring in the harbor in Newport inside of the no wake buoys. I had to get out of the way of the ferry.
Yeah.
But it was silversides. And I was like, where does all this stuff even come from? Because our harbor isn't fed by any
right
or anything, right?
Yeah.
And
it just piles up in there.
And it was lower in the water column.
Yep.
And then I really watched the gulls, that need the bait forced up to them, stalling and taking long looks, and but it was a kind of feed that would be one over here, one over there, not a tight schooled bait like sand eels are tighter.
Right, and it's not a constant feed. It's really like the fish are up for a few minutes and then they're down. And in that situation, I'm not really targeting those surface feeds.
Right.
If they come up and I'm close enough, I'll putt over. I'm not racing over.
Right.
I'm just like walking over to them, but I'm looking on my sounder the whole time and targeting fish that are down, 20, 30 feet as well.
Yeah. What kind of lure do you like for that? I had good luck with one of those. It's just a Joe Baggs Miracle Minnow, which has been in here. Do you know the product I'm talking about?
Yeah. That's a good one.
I picked it for profile.
Yeah.
And it worked great.
Yeah, that one's killer. I use the Hoagie little paddle tail a lot.
Yep. Those things cast great.
Yeah, the Pro Tail.
Yep.
And 1 ounce, 1.25 ounce, 2 ounce.
Yeah.
I really like the 1 ounce, but if the fish are deeper, I'll go a little heavier.
But it keeps it with a decently thin profile too.
Yeah, decently thin profile and simple retrieve. I get a lot of less experienced anglers on the boat, and it's
You're so
pretty
kind.
Yeah.
No.
It's pretty simple retrieve. I'll say, okay, cast it out. There's fish down at 20 feet. Count to 15 and just slowly retrieve it back to the boat, and the fish kind of jump on those.
Yeah.
So
it's
effective.
I learned my lesson about counting earlier this year.
Yeah.
I hadn't really. This was a sinking fly line, but I hadn't really been thoughtful.
Yeah.
When you are, your results absolutely improve.
Oh yeah.
I've been doing it wrong for 20 years.
And people think, you got to cast it out and start reeling it in quick.
Yeah.
But a lot of these bait fish aren't moving at, 10 miles an hour.
Right.
They're moving pretty slow and steady, and that's fast for them.
Yeah.
But for us, especially with the fast retrieve on some reels these days.
Like twin power.
Right. Yeah. So just kind of a steady, not too aggressive retrieve, and that thing's creating all the action it needs in the tail. And I'd say the Pro Tail is like one of my go-tos in those situations. I'll also throw those little micro chug poppers in those feeds, especially when they're up. And they also call fish up because they have that like almost offshore popper effect where it's calling fish up, and you let it pause and they'll crash it. But the pro tail is wicked effective in imitating the bait and just getting the action that you want.
And you're talking about the pro tail with the kick tail with the.
That's the slow tail.
Not the one with two.
Oh yeah, that's the slow tail. Yeah, with a little paddle on it.
Not the straight one.
Right.
Right. The one thing I wanted to ask you is the same day, I think that I was in the harbor, but I saw a bait that was oval, so herring bunker shaped, butterfish shaped. I was essentially in Newport Harbor, and it greyhounded twice, and the third one landed in a swirl. So this guy was doing this and just
picking him up.
It landed, but it was exactly
like a wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. But I couldn't think of any bait that would greyhound like that, because I don't think of the bunker. I know they flop along, but they don't like.
Yeah, they don't greyhound.
Like an offshore bait.
Yeah, almost like a half beak or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I was like, what is that?
Yeah, I don't know what.
I know you see it all. But
the only thing I've seen,
profile-wise, it had a little bit of an oval shape, and that's maybe sea herring because it's about that size.
The only thing I've seen spray recently like that has been those little sea herring that I mentioned.
That's probably what it was then.
Yeah.
Because it had that herring body.
Yeah.
That was what you could see. And then, like I said, my God, what is that? And then all of a sudden it landed in a swirl. I'm like, well, never know.
Good catch.
Yeah, pretty good.
I've seen some big bluefish on those sea herring, backside of the Vineyard and even up to the Elizabeth Islands. And they'll, as the bluefish really push them up, they'll kind of scurry away. And I've seen them greyhound a little bit. I wouldn't say I see it all the time.
I don't have like a lot of experience with that bait. Is it? Have I just been overlooking it? And it's around most years, kind of thing.
I haven't seen.
It's a great fly rod bait.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And I haven't seen as much as I've seen this year in recent years. And I know there's been issues with sea herring. So maybe the stricter
regulations,
limits on the midwater trawl fishery has kind of helped those spawns
rebound a little bit.
Yeah, rebound.
That's good, because I was that's what in a striper beside the boat. I ended up puked up those 3 to 4 inch sea herring, but also some silversides, which made sense to the way my fish finder was looking. But it's like that sea herring, I don't see that many. So let's transition to recent catches. I know that you got a couple bluefin trips in. Why don't you talk about that first?
Yeah, so bluefin have shown up. If you're on any sort of social media, you've seen that because everybody's posting about it. But they're, they were kind of down south a bit, but they really showed up in force. So people are getting them trolling, jigging on top water, and basically kind of on that 90 to 150 foot contour line, south of Rhode Island, south of the Vineyard, south of Block Island, south of Long Island.
Yeah. I heard, many ways a troll bite, because talking with a friend, they're up in the water column, and so you don't mark much.
Right.
But then you hook up.
Yeah.
So, because they, and maybe it's a lone wolf, or the spool's just high in the water column, so it's not as apparent on your on your fish finder and stuff like that.
I've seen a lot of fish up top. I haven't done a ton of trips. Some of my buddies have run like quite a few trips already.
Yeah.
I've been out 3 times, and most of the fish I'm marking are up higher in the water column, but we've marked plenty down deep as well. And there's some giants. Yeah, more of a jig bite. But so if you mark fish, if you kind of move around slow marking fish, you can drop jigs down, and it's pretty effective. If you mark them and you put a jig in their face, you're going to get a bite, pretty much.
So let me ask a couple product questions, because I know Eric here has been receiving a bunch of that UVT, which you have the shirt on, so it's prompted me to bring it up. And if there's a like a 101 on how you might choose a jig, can you share that? I don't have to be a graduate course, but
some simple.
We're just bringing them in, and I know you've used them. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what for when?
If I'm showing up kind of like that gray light in the morning, or like very first light, personally I'm always going to fish something that has some glow in it, just to get a little bit more attention. Some guys say that doesn't matter. my experience that matters.
Yeah.
And so I kind of start with something glow. As the sun starts to penetrate water a little bit more, I'll switch to stuff that has a little bit more of a flash to it.
Yeah.
So UVT has the new glass jig, which is kind of just prism finished on it, so it throws some light around. Then they have their glow, like pink glow and electric chicken glow, which I'll use early.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they have like classic
Are they all
silver
kind of
and
nice
sand
jigs,
eel.
or are they wide?
Yeah,
Ones I've seen
they're
them
more-
open were more, slender.
Yeah, they're more slender, rounded, so they fall different than other jigs. Hoagie has their sand eel jig, which has more of a flatter side to it, and I love those too. They fall a little bit different than the UVT jigs do, so they both have their place.
Yeah.
And depending on the wind, on the drift, is kind of what dictates jig size for me.
Okay.
So if I'm drifting fast, obviously I'm going to fish a heavier jig because I want to be as vertical as possible.
Yeah.
The more vertical you are, the more feel you have. You're really trying to figure out the retrieve those fish want day to day. So sometimes it's a fast, speed jigging retrieve. Other times it's more of a slow pitch where you're, jigging it up, letting it fall for a second with like half a crank. And so you can imagine it going up, kind of fluttering slightly, and then going up again, fluttering slightly.
That's the same kind of idea as spoons in the sense that you're working with that tension.
Yeah.
Right? You need to stay connected to it or it's not going to work.
Right, and just
They
like
might get I guess it might get freight trained by a tuna. You sure should know at that point.
oh yeah, you'll know, right? And plenty of people will scope out away from the boat and get hit like that, and there's no denying you're gonna feel it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But kind of being more in contact, just like with a flutter spoon, and being aware of where your jig is always helps, because a lot of the times you'll jig up and you'll drop it down and it doesn't go anywhere, and you're like, oh shoot, and you kind of pull back up again and there's a fish there. Or even dropping jigs down, sometimes pay attention to how deep you are, because if your jig's falling, I had it happen the other day. We threw a Ronzi off the back of the boat and we're in 150 feet of water, and I'm expecting it to fall for a little bit, and I turn around and the line's just kind of coiled up slack on the surface, and I was like, there's no way it's that deep already.
Yeah.
So I clicked the bail over and the rod doubled over.
Yeah.
So a fish grabbed it on the drop.
Yeah. Wow.
That was 30 seconds into our trip. So just like,
Boy, you are good.
yeah, no, I'm not. Lucky, maybe lucky.
Excellent.
Right place, right time, and
Sure.
Right stuff
But
on
you
the boat.
you
and-
read it.
Yeah. Yep. And just paying attention to your depth and your fall rate and what's going on.
And so there isn't a recipe so much, or correct me, I guess. Is there a recipe for like this depth, that weight, or is it got more to do with drift speed and some of the other things that are?
I find it more to do with drift speed personally.
You gotta figure out
and,
what can keep you up and down.
Yeah, and these fish are eating. You're replicating a lot of sand eels with these jigs, like the UVT or the Hoagie jig.
Yep.
So you can imagine not many sand eels are bigger than 8 inches or so,
Yeah.
maybe 10 inches.
Wow.
So you're really just kind of presenting the jig the right way at the right spot in the water column. And if you're marking fish on the bottom and you're drifting really fast, you're not going to be able to present it right if your line is over here and your boat's over here. So and those sand eels are kind of like in the bottom and moving out.
Yeah, I'm
to
already
the
looking
surface.
forward to August's conversation because I want to understand some of those other baits that
Right.
are out there. But right now it's primarily sand eels.
Lots of sand eels. Yeah.
Great.
There's some half beaks on the surface, so guys have been getting them on poppers as well, and stick baits, things like that.
Any other recent catches?
So the other day I was on the Elizabeth Islands, and we were on some really big bluefish eating those sea herring I mentioned.
Yeah.
The guys got tired of catching those. They were all monsters. I was lucky I still had my fingers. So, I'll give you a call. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, big bluefish. I mean,
So much fun.
Yes.
Would have been a blast on the fly too.
Yeah.
So we got into some of those after about 30. I wasn't going to push luck anymore with my hands. Those guys were happy. We went looking for bass, and we found some bass rafted up on the surface.
Oh, nice.
Pushing again those little Atlantic herring.
Yeah.
and we're catching some bass. We got a few nice slot fish, some under slot, and all being caught and released, by the way. And I kind of looked to my right and I saw some slashing, and there's been some bonito around, so we go over expecting bonito. I throw a couple epoxies in there. My clients did. Immediately both went tight, and kind of could tell right away they weren't bonito. The reels were just dumping. And I didn't want to like say anything because I was like, it's early for for anything else. But these fish sounded, they went down, they kind of started pinwheeling, and I was like, those aren't bones. And we got one up boat side, and it was 28-inch Albie. And then we got that fish in the boat, quick picture, and we got another one boat side and dropped it boat side. 2 Albies off the bat.
In July.
And followed by 7 bones right after that. So
the bones that we had around here seemed to vanish a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I know, and I noticed that too.
They went somewhere.
From every report I've gotten, a lot of those bones pushed offshore, and I think they were in here, and I think they've pushed out to spawn.
They were happy with whatever they were eating, because they hung around.
Right, and a lot of those fish, for the people that kept them and ate them, they were all full of roe, and it was ripe roe, so those fish are up here spawning. And I think they kind of push offshore to spawn. Really.
To actually do it.
So it's cool that Massachusetts put in some regulations last year to protect them, especially since we have a spawning aggregation here. And we're still learning more about those fish.
Absolutely.
But it's good to see them early like that. It was definitely out of the ordinary.
Absolutely.
It was out of the ordinary for me to get 2 Albies like that. It was definitely earlier than normal. But there's been a lot of other reports of Albies, some off the Vineyard, some off Narragansett.
Well, I think you don't generally first hear them out there messing them with the tuna spreads.
Guys will get them, even on poppers. I've gotten them on big poppers offshore, casting for bluefin and yellowfin. And not in the canyons, like that kind of near shore bite. But
Sounds great.
I think any day now it's gonna really take off.
That's probably a good transition. I'll save my sea bass question, but it's probably a good transition. I go to ICAST in Orlando tomorrow, which is be hot as blazes. I literally found the closest hotel to the convention center. Because one year I saved money
anywhere.
One year I saved money. I was a mile and a half away, and by the time I got there, I was exhausted and sopping wet. I'm like, I'm not doing this again. It is wicked.
No, I have no interest in Florida this time of year.
So
ICAST sounds fun.
Sometime. Someday. But the heat wave, we're about to, I think I heard as high as 100 around here. I don't know what ended up happening, but so we're just kind of a sense of a transition, right? You said you caught a couple Albies, the bones were here and gone, and the tuna's picking up. Kind of what do you got on the what's next? What do you anticipate?
So I'm kind of anticipating the Albies to fill in more. I'm still picking away at good stripers. There are some big fish around in the cooler, deeper water. Fishing some eels, fishing some topwater early and late is producing good fish. We got one the other day that was, we didn't measure or weigh anything, but these fish were easily high 40, low 50-inch range.
Oh my gosh,
Inshore too, but in deep, cool water. So I'll leave it at that. You can kind of figure that out. But, there's also lots of stripers that are pushing small bait. So some spots in Buzzards Bay, there's lots of stripers this big in the 20 to 30-inch range. Elizabeth Islands have fish.
That's a nice. It's
striper. It's a good fish.
Great for a charter guy to be in the thick of it. With
and it's good action. Outside Westport, there's lots of little stripers there on small sand eels and other small bait fish. There's clouds of bait pushing around, so it's good action. But the amount of bait I've been seeing around, it's that time of year where everything's kind of setting up for all the exotics to show up. So that's really like what I'm excited for.
Me too. Because who the hell knows? Right? I mean, I caught a mackerel yesterday. And I thought it was going to be because it behaved like the mushmouth. As the skipjacks, in the sense that they all like.
We get those chub mackerel or whatever. And those are, I'm sure we'll start seeing those in numbers soon. But
hopefully with the Albie year that a stronger Albie year than we've had of late, but
Yeah.
great to see you.
I think
found a
it's
couple already. It bodes well.
setting up to be
Yeah.
a good year. And then, the windmills are kind of my new exciting venture as far as its structure offshore that we haven't had in the past.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that are pissed about it, but
Right.
whether you like it or don't like it, it's structure offshore.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's another option to go fishing, those things have turned into basically vertical reefs. I was fishing on them last year. We're getting mahi and bonito and albies. There were bluefin in there. Guys were getting different kinds of jacks off of them.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
there's some interesting stuff around there. So if you're curious and want to catch something different or see some exotics, I would go
That's the kind of.
I would go fish around those
Yeah.
and jig around them, throw a little top water around them.
Yeah,
Epoxy jigs.
Mahi is a tremendous, when you
Yeah.
find a pot of them, it's great action.
Yeah.
It's good, they can be frustrating.
Yeah,
but
and they can be really frustrating, but on
it's
most
just
of,
awesome to watch them.
Yeah, and they'll
not hook up and watch the whole thing anyway.
yeah, and pretty much every one of those windmills, the pilings there, there'll be mahi pushing around them, and
Okay. Haven't been out there.
something to do on the way in from tuna fishing.
Sure.
Can always save a day to put a little more meat in the boat.
I think you. I know you had a couple clients recently that were almost brand new to the game, but happy to be on the water.
Yeah.
And you sort of started them on black sea bass.
Yeah.
We Eric and I had conversations about weeding through 20 black sea bass to get one of decent size.
Yeah.
If there were any pro tips around how to set yourself up to be fishing for better black sea bass.
Yeah.
I haven't figured it out, and I'm interested in trying.
Yeah.
So I didn't know
Yeah.
if there might be any. Here's a couple things places I would start. Not places, but way I think about
Target areas.
it. Yeah. Do you have anything to share there?
So I always use jigs. I never use bait for black sea bass. Even in the spring, I just don't use bait for them.
Yeah.
And I find that weeds out a lot of the smaller fish. But as the season progresses, like at this point, I'm fishing much deeper water. So I'm
Is
fishing.
that for temperature?
I think it's temperature.
Okay.
And I think in the spring, those fish are up shallower spawning.
Okay.
A lot of the big males that I'm still putting in the boat are definitely still in spawn mode. But we're fishing deep. We're fishing 45 to 65, 70 feet of water. So, we're kind of targeting obviously rocky areas. There's, let's say there's like a ledge. I'm really not fishing on top of the ledge where it might be like 35 feet. I'm fishing the drop off points and then the flats around the ledge. And like I said, deep water. So if I start my drift on a ledge, I might be catching a lot of small sea bass.
Yeah.
And like the guys I had the other day had never fished before. We were on some surface feeds in the morning. I could quickly tell that wasn't going to happen because the fish were picky and you had to land in the school. It was like
Accuracy
target
is important.
practice.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've kind of switched gears and we went and jigged sea bass. They were like wicked happy about it.
Yeah.
And something to kind of get you introduced to fishing and learn how to, get a feel for stuff.
Sure.
So we went jigging and, just like I said, we were up on top of these ledges, catching smaller fish on top.
Yeah.
As we got deeper, we started getting some keepers and big males.
Sure.
So,
I tell
no problem getting our limit as long as we're fishing the right depth.
Yeah, I had a hump that I was, so I'm trying to get better at using my electronics. So mostly going to read the water guy,
Yep.
and I want to get better black sea bass fishing, right? So I'd had this hump, I'd identified it, and I don't have spot lock. We drifted over it a couple of times and it couldn't quite locate it. And then I had somebody tell me that some of the what do you call it? Electronics isn't exactly precise. It's reasonably precise. So, I mean, I was looking for something that ultimately wasn't that big. It might not have been where...
Yeah, you might have been off a little bit, 3-4 feet, even like
Not much.
10 yards,
Yes. And it was really, I felt like that was going to make the difference, you know, to be, and now I'm hearing from you a little different. It wasn't so much the top of it, it was the
surrounding area.
Yeah, so I probably working too hard to get to something that wasn't going to pay off.
And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm off the ledge, I need to go back up on there. But then you're
Stick with it.
You know, right now you're just weeding through more small fish.
Yeah, so stick with it on that drip.
Yeah, stick with it, fish the deeper water. And really when I'm fishing jigs, I'm telling people to keep it like off the bottom. So I'm always telling people to hit the bottom, hit the bottom, hit the bottom, you know, and kind of hover it off the bottom occasionally. It's not really on the fall all the time that I'm getting the takes. It's almost like on the pause. So I'll hit the bottom, I'll bring it up, I'll let it drop a little bit, and I'll just hold it there for a second, and you'll feel a little like dunk.
Yep.
And those bigger ones, the take can be really subtle, but it's just, you know, they're coming up to it and they're just like kind of
big mouth, it's gone.
Yeah, and I use a little tiny hoagie squinno jig that is like my go-to. It's such a killer for sea bass.
Yeah, in the smaller size.
Small size, yeah. It's like 1 1/8 or something like that.
Yeah.
But it drops like a rock. And again, just like with tuna, you want to be as vertical as you can. So, you know, what I'll do is as I start to scope away from the boat, I bring it right back up, drop it back to the bottom. I'll even fish if I'm drifting, let's say to my left, and I'll pitch it to my left out like, you know, 20 feet.
Yeah.
By the time it hits the bottom, I have a little time to kind of fish it until it becomes vertical to the boat. And then once it kind of starts to go under my hull, I'll bring it back up, pitch it back out again.
Yeah.
That way I'm kind of getting as much feel as I can. I'm staying as vertical as I can.
Got it.
Through that retrieve, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's happening now. There's a lot to look forward to.
There is.
We'll do this again in August, and you know, I think some of the best is yet to come. I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's all setting up to be a great season. I mean, offshore is awesome right now. It's only going to get better. Hopefully, we see yellowfin.
I had that way up here. It's one of my things.
Excited about that possibility.
Let's get out there.
Yeah,
it'll be a good one. All right.
So.
Well, excellent, Ray. Thanks so much for coming now.
Pleasure.
It is Salt of the Earth Sport Fishing, and the best way to reach you is that phone number, right?
Yeah, 401-269-1563, or you can email me at jarvisfish@gmail.com.
All right.
Or my website, nesportfishing.com, like New England Sport Fishing.
Okay.
And you can book there, you can call me, text me, whatever.
Yep.
Instagram as well, Salt of the Earth Sport Fishing.
Excellent. Well, I enjoy, and I know the customers have commented they enjoy this kind of getting you to come in and really be our eyes and ears. Cause
I'm happy to share the info, and it's kind of all in it together, so it might as well be fun and get people on fish.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
See you soon.
Thank you. You too.